Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is November 23rd, 2025, and crazy news today because Florentino Perez going all out and attacking FC Barcelona. Also, Javier Tebas is officially under investigation. And finally, Laporta has come out in defense of La Liga's president, Javier Tebas. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Boo, and I'm currently out of town. I'm currently working. I'm on a work trip, and therefore, this is why I'm bringing you this short live stream. This is not a podcast. I will not be reading the comment section. This is just so I can keep you up to date on all Barcelona news while I'm currently out of town. Now, for those of you who didn't watch the post-match live analysis, I did explain on why I didn't make any videos on Thursdays and Friday. Well, Thursday and Friday, pretty much what happened is my bag, the airline lost my bag, which had my computer, camera, microphone. I finally got it back on Saturday. I did the post-match live analysis. Today I'm bringing you not one, not two, but three videos. So to bring you up to date with all Barcelona news. And of course, from now on, I'll continue making news until I go back home. All right, having said all that, let's dive right into the news because, ladies and gentlemen, Florentino Perez has come out and attacked FC Barcelona. Now, Florentino Perez was holding a general assembly with the club members of Real Madrid, kind of like what Laporta does, where he updates the socials on what's going on with the club. And I always talk about those, what happens during those general assemblies. Well, Florentino Perez was doing that with the Real Madrid members, and he decided to attack Barcelona brazenly in regards to that Negreira case. And this is what the Real Madrid president had to say. It's not normal that Barcelona paid the vice president of the Referees Association more than 8 million euros for at least 17 years. Whatever the reason, the vice president of referees who held important positions, a period that coincidentally coincides with Barcelona's best result in our country. So Florentino Perez, straight up coming out after Barcelona for the whole Negreira case and saying, it's so weird that Barcelona paid the vice president and it coincides with the best time, their best performance in the history of the club. And it's like, all right, time out. Let's break that down. Because first of all, Barcelona did not pay the vice president of referees, Negreira. Barcelona paid one of the companies owned by the vice president of the CTA at the time, Negreira. Okay, let's clarify that. There's a big difference paying someone directly versus go into one of the many businesses they own and hire that business for a service, because that's what Barcelona did, right? They hired one of the many companies that Negreira had to consult in regards to referees, something that all La Liga clubs do. All La Liga clubs have a retired referee on their payroll, which they consult with on rules, interpretation of rules, how each referee rules, etc., etc., etc. That's what Barcelona did. Second of all, okay, Florentino Perez says that Negreira supposedly was an important person. He was not. Okay, it's been established time and time again that yes, Negreira was a vice president of the CTA, but guess what? He was one of many. I think there was 4 other vice presidents alongside of him. Negreira's title was completely honorary. He didn't even get paid a salary. He had no power in anything, in any decision making. So no, he's not an important person, as Florentino Perez tries to paint him out. And then he says, coincidentally, it was during the same time that Barcelona had the best results historically. I wonder why. Was it Negreira? Or was it Pep Guardiola, Messi, Iniesta, Xavi, Busquets, Piqué, Puyol, and the list goes on and on and on and on. But no, it was all Negreira. That tiki-taka, that beautiful football that we all saw, how Barcelona were so dominant. No. It all has to do with Negreira, not with what Barcelona did during those years. But anyways, we continue with this clown's statements because Florentino Perez also brought up a chart with statistics and started to talk about how refereeing is against Madrid, right? Because they're always the victims. The team that has historically benefited the most from refereeing errors. No, they're the victims because this is what Florentino Perez had to say. We can all agree that expulsions involve the greatest degree of subjectivity. Well, look, Real Madrid had a net balance in the 21st century of 2 expulsions against them. and Barcelona with 61 expulsions in their favor. That's a difference of no less than 59. The balance of expulsions during Negreira's time in charge, Barcelona's balance was 49 and Real Madrid was -1. Draw your own conclusions. The fact that someone like Florentino Perez can fall into this retarded trap of stats, oh, look how many red cards in favor, how many. It's like, I wonder why Real Madrid had more red cards during the 21st century. Maybe because you had two animals, one of them named Pepe, the other one named Sergio Ramos, who were constantly out for blood. Maybe that's why Real Madrid had more red cards. Have you ever thought about that? Or how about Casemiro? Another animal who used to be out for blood. Maybe that explains why Real Madrid had more red cards than Barcelona. In fact, when Casemiro went to Man U, he got 2 red cards immediately as soon as he got there that they had to retrain him. Imagine that. And the only strange thing about these statistics that Florentino Perez is using is the fact that Real Madrid don't have more red cards. Because honestly, the shit that Pepe and Sergio Ramos and Casemiro and all these animals that used to do deserves a lot more red cards than they actually got. I mean, even Toni Kroos has come out and said that under Mourinho, that was literally the strategy. They knew they couldn't stop Barcelona by playing football, and the strategy was come out there and break legs. So maybe that's why you had more red cards. Have you thought about that, you all decrepit man? No. Now, what's going on here is we have a Real Madrid who is on a down, right? They went trophyless last season despite signing players like Birmingham and Mbappe. Then they went on a whole spending spree this last summer, signing Xabi Alonso, signing players like Hoysen and Trent Alexander, and all these players and Carreras, and nothing has changed. So, what does this animal do? Instead of confronting the associates, said, hey, sorry, it didn't work out. It's not working out. We're going to figure out how to fix. No. Let's deflect the attention from our own failures by making up lies and, throwing the Negreira name. Because let's not forget, Negreira hasn't worked for Barcelona since 2019. Okay? It's been almost 8 years. You tell me Negreira's at fault for how shitty Madrid is playing? Of course not. But this guy knows it. But of course, he has to deflect. Anyways, Florentino Perez also had something to say about Javier Tebas, of course, always attacking him as well, especially with the whole Villarreal match, saying it's not normal for the president of La Liga to promote a match outside of Spain. Even their captain, Frankie de Jong, doesn't seem to think it's normal. And it's also not normal for La Liga to support 2 teams. Barcelona and Villarreal have access to extra financial incentives for playing in Miami. And yet we have to listen to Mr. Tebas trying to justify this, comparing it to an NFL game. Look, I'm not in favor of taking out La Liga matches somewhere else, but flash news, but it doesn't mean that somehow La Liga is corrupt in favor of Barcelona, okay? But anyways, let's continue with the news because, ladies and gentlemen, Javier Tebas is officially under investigation. Yes, you heard that correctly. Now, as you know by now, there's a complaint open against Javier Tebas for violation of confidentiality rules. This complaint was brought by Miguel Galan, who informed Barcelona that they had a complaint at their hand, that they had legal basis to bring a complaint against Javier Tebas. Laporta decided not to do anything with that. So Miguel Galan moved forward himself and filed this complaint back in August with the CSD, or the Higher Sports Council. That's just like it sounds. It's a council. You bring up a complaint to them like, hey, I believe this team or this player violated this sports rule. They assess it and they're like, okay, yeah, seems like something happening there. From there, if there is grounds, then they kick it up to the court, the Administrative Court of Sport, or the TAD, T-A-D. And then the court, that's where the trial is held, and that person or club or whomever is determined whether they are innocent or guilty. Now, Miguel Galan brought a complaint again to the CSD, to the Higher Sports Council. Higher Sports Council decided that yes, there's grounds here for something. They kicked it up to the Administrative Court of Sport, and now the Administrative Court of Sport have determined that yes, there is enough evidence to merit an investigation. So the administrative court support have officially opened an investigation into Javier Tebas for violation of confidentiality rules. And there are 5 complaints or 5 accusations that Miguel Galan brought forward against Tebas. The first one is that on April 2nd, 2025, La Liga publicly announced that they weren't going to be counting those 100 million euros from the VIP seats deal that Barcelona did because, we explained about how the auditor said you cannot really count those because the seats weren't built yet. So that right there, that was a violation of confidentiality rules because that's Barcelona's private business. The La Liga cannot be announcing that publicly. The second accusation is that La Liga then went forward and publicized that information on their own website. The third accusation is when Javier Tebas met with Athletic Club de Bilbao during the whole Nico Williams saga, and Athletic Club de Bilbao sent representatives to Madrid. They met with Tebas. They're like, hey, what's going on with Barcelona? And Tebas was like, oh, don't worry, they're not under the 1-1 rule. The seat deal is not going to go through. And Tebas shared, confidential information with them, and they were able to take that information back to Bilbao and convince Nico Williams to stay. The fourth accusation is when Tebas made some public statements to the media about Barcelona not meeting the 1-1 rule. And finally, there is some problem with some confidential documents that La Liga forwarded to the CSD during the whole Dani Olmo situation. So all these accusations Miguel Galan brought forward to the CSD kicked it up to the TAD, and now the Administrative Court of Sports have opened an official investigation. Now, if Javier Tebas is found guilty, he can face punishment all the way from suspension to being completely removed from his position as La Liga president, which I hope and pray that does happen. Now, one person who is not hoping and praying that this happens is Joan Laporta. Yes, you heard that correctly, because the Barcelona president has actually come in defense of Javier Tebas. Let's see what Laporta had to say. I believe at this moment, the possible disqualification of Javier Tebas is not good news. Apparently it's not. I think we would be celebrating it except Laporta here. Our problems have been resolved and the relations are getting better and better. This was instigated by a group, I don't know who. We spoke with the president of La Liga at times and this matter was resolved. I don't think it's good news right now. I don't know where these attempts to oust the president of La Liga are coming from. I don't quite trust them. Honestly, Laporta, I don't quite trust you because we've all seen what Javier Tebas has done to Barcelona and continues to do, constantly screwing us over time and time again. And yet, not only did you not bring this complaint forward, which you should have to begin with, someone else had to do it on your behalf, but now you don't even think it's good news. What is going on? I don't know. Now, maybe I can see the logic behind of how Laporta maybe, since he knows Tebas now, knows how to deal with him, maybe he would prefer not to have an enemy that he doesn't know. But I don't think that's solid enough to keep Tebas. Okay? This is like the spouse who gets beat by her husband but prefers not to leave him because she doesn't know what the next husband will be like. No. Tebas is bad news for Barca, and we should be celebrating that he could potentially be removed, not defending him. Now, in case Javier Tebas in case Laporta does need some reminding of what Tebas is and what he's like, let's look at a tweet that Tebas posted today, because during that General Assembly of Real Madrid, Florentino Perrez attacked Tebas, and one of Real Madrid members, come out and said that Tebas should be declared a persona non grata at Real Madrid, because as you know, Tebas is a Madridista and he's a member of Real Madrid. And well, this is what Javier Tebas had to say, a reply to that member that wants him declared a persona non grata. Now, these are excerpts from his tweet. I've been a Real Madrid fan since I was 6 years old when I returned to Spain with my family. Nobody forced me to be one. I didn't inherit my membership card from my father or grandfather. I chose to support Real Madrid. I'm accused of being anti-Madrid. I'm not, and it hurts to hear. I'm still as much of a Madrid fan as anyone. Now, that tweet is a lot longer because he talks about all kinds of crap, and I didn't want to put the whole tweet, but it's pretty much riddled about with how much of a Madridista he is. Remember, this is coming from the president of La Liga, the guy who is supposed to hold the interests of all La Liga clubs equally, talking and blabbering for an entire tweet, super long tweet, about how much of a Madridista he is, how much he loves Madrid, And even if they declare him persona non grata, he's always going to be a Madridista. The president of La Liga, ladies and gentlemen. Who is being defended by whom? The president of Barcelona. Welcome to Barcelona. Anyways, that is all the news for this video. I'm going live 2 more times after this to keep you up to date on all Barcelona news, so stay tuned to the channel. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and as always, Visca Barça.